Good morning, children. Welcome to our next class. In agricultural practices, we have completed preparation of soil, sowing, and then we are also completed with irrigation. And the next steps, what are the next steps in agricultural practices we see? In today's class, we will learn about weeding, harvesting, threshing, and winnowing. These all steps we are going to discuss today, right? So first, step by step we'll go, children. What's the meaning of weeding? Now we'll discuss about weeding. What are weeds means? You already know. Weeds are unwanted plants which can grow along with the crop plants. What happens when farmers grow these weeds? If they let the weeds to grow in their field, what happens? These weeds will compete with crop plants and they stop the growth of the crop plants, so that yielding becomes less. So they are creating problem to the farmers. Whatever the nutrients farmers are supplying, these weeds starts taking that. They'll compete for sunlight, light and space and nutrients. For all this, they'll go for competition with crop plants, and finally they stop the growth of main crop and the yielding capacity of the crop gets reduced. So the farmers has to take care. Somehow they have to remove these weeds from the main field. Then there are different methods to remove the weeds. The process which is removing weeds is only known as weeding. Removing weeds is known as weeding. So there are different methods for weeding. One is mechanical method. In mechanical method, farmers, in preparation of soil, you learnt they'll first prepare the soil by ploughing. So that is useful. The ploughing process is useful in mechanical method. When they are ploughing the field, these unwanted plants will get mixed up in the soil, and later they can get mixed in the soil, or else by the sunlight they'll become dried and mix up with the soil. That is one way, or else manually people has to pick up the unwanted plants from the field. That is the another way. And sometimes they will uproot that unwanted plants. They will uproot the weeds by using an instrument called trowel they'll use. This is an iron plate, triangular shape iron plate will be, and here wooden stick for holding. By using this, they will uproot the unwanted plants. So this trowel is used for uprooting the weeds, and they can also following the plough method, and they can also pick up with manually, and they can just burn or throw outside. That is one way. These all are coming under mechanical methods. And they are also using chemical methods for weeding. In this chemical method, they'll use the chemicals like 2,4-D. 2,4-D chemical is very useful for destroying the weeds. Sometimes some pests also attack the crops, like birds, rodents like rats. They all also destroy the crop. So to destroy that pest, they are also using pesticides. Either weedicides or pesticides, they can spray in the field by using a machine known as sprayer. By using this sprayer, farmers will spray the pesticides or weedicides in the field to remove the weeds and to destroy the pest, so that his yielding will increase and they can get more money economically, they can be standard. And to remove, while using these weedicides or pesticides, they need to take some precautions. While using, they need to take some precautions. What are those precautions? What they are supposed to do? The person who is spraying the pesticide or weedicide, first they have to cover their nose, mouth and ears completely. How we are covering by using the mask nowadays to protect ourselves from coronavirus. Same way, the farmers who are spraying the pesticides and weedicides, they need to cover their mouth, nose and ears carefully so that these chemicals will not go into, he cannot inhale those chemicals. And if by mistake, if they inhale the chemical, they may cause for irritation on skin and breathing problems will come. So the person who is spraying the pesticide should be very, very careful, or else some health issues will come by this pesticides. So this is the weedicides and pesticides, how to do the weeding, how the farmers are following this method in agricultural practice, we understood, right? And next, when we move on to the next step, that is harvesting. After weeding in agricultural practices, farmers will go to a step known as harvesting. Harvesting means collecting the matured crops, cutting the matured crops. You understood how they are sowing seeds? First they are preparing the field, then sowing seed, and then they are supplying water irrigation, and then they are removing weeds from the field, and next by nicely giving care in every step, then the crop grows and it will be ready for collecting. When it is ready for collecting, that's known as matured crop. We can call it as matured crop. When crop gets matured, farmers cut the crop plants and they will collect that. They will make in the open field, they'll spread it and they will allow for drying. So the cutting of matured crop is known as harvesting. They will cut the crop near to the ground. But after cutting the crop, matured crop, the stubs will remain in the field. The stubs are nothing but the root, the stem part, starting part of the stem, little bit remains in the field. So they will allow that stubs to remain in the field like that for next season. Preparation of the soil, when they start, they'll go for ploughing, and these stubs also they'll plough, they'll mix with soil and becomes like a manure. So for doing this harvesting, they're using a machine known as combiner. By harvesting can also be done by manually, by using a traditional tool. Harvesting can be done. That tool is sickle. Many of you have seen the sickle. I'll show you all these pictures in our video. Sickle is a sharp iron blade and a wooden rod here for holding, just like the trowel. How farmers are using trowel to uproot the weeds, same way this sickle is for. This is iron plate, iron bent rod, very sharp edged iron piece will be. So this, by using this, they'll cut the crop manually, and this is a traditional tool. From long back, farmers are using this. Apart from that, the modern tool like combiner is a modern tool By using this, they can cut the crop very fastly. They can save the time and the labor. They no need of many members for cutting the crop so that they can save the money. So the combiner is a modern tool for harvesting. Understood, children? And after harvesting, threshing. What's the meaning of threshing? Just now we discussed in harvesting, they cut the matured crop and they make that crop to dry. After drying the crop, they'll make like a bun, and this unwanted dried plants are known as straw. This straw other end, they are having grains. The other end of the straw, grains are there. So they will separate these grains from the straw. That method is only known as threshing. Separating the grains from straw, known as threshing. How do they do this threshing? They can do manually by beating that buns on a hard surface. The grains get separated. Like that they'll do. Or else by using a modern tool called thresher. They'll use this thresher. I'll show you the pics of this combiner, thresher. This all I'll show you in the video. So it's a tool, modern tool, which easily separates the grains from the straw. Okay. So this is the next practice in agricultural practices. And after this, winnowing. After this process, winnowing. Winnowing means in sowing time, when you are learning about sowing, we did one activity. Did you remember that? What you did for the selection of healthy seeds, you took half of the beaker, water you have taken, and you took handful of seeds and you made this seeds to dip in this water. Are you able to see some seeds are floating on water and some seeds reach to the bottom of the glass? You are able to see this, right? So these seeds which are floating are not having nutrients. They are unfilled grains. They are unfilled grains and they are also known as chaff. So this chaff, they will separate from the healthier seeds. Healthy seeds, they'll separate from the chaff, which is unfilled grains, is only known as winnowing. Separation of chaff from the seeds known as winnowing. Then how do they do the winnowing? They'll do the winnowing by using wind. They'll use the wind for doing the winnowing process. They'll stand on a height place and they will throw that grains and unfilled grains, both which are mixed with each other. Those grains they'll take and they'll make it to fall down on the ground by seeing the direction of wind. So this pictures also I'll show you in our video. By this, the chaff flies away, which is very light, do not have any nutrient in them. The chaff flies away along with the air and only the nutrient filled grains will fall near to the farmer like a heap. So by doing all these steps, farmers feel so happy. So this harvest time only known as harvesting season. So they will enjoy and they'll do celebrations. They'll celebrate festivals at the time of harvesting. Those are only known as harvesting festivals. Throughout India, different states with different names, people are celebrating harvesting festivals like Pongal, like Sankranti, Baisakhi, Holi. These all are in different states, by getting their hard work is going to an end, is completing by the process of, after this winnowing, one more stage is there, one more practice is there that we'll discuss. But up to the winnowing, they'll see the heap of their yielding and they feel so happy. It's not only the farmers, it's a happy news for all the people, because we are getting our food from the farmers' hard work. So we should respect our farmers. Okay, up to here they received their yielding, their crop, their grains reached for them, and finally now the task is storing grains. The next step is storing grains. How to store these grains? Whatever the crop they collected, they are not going to use at a time. So it should be stored for many days. Sometimes the same seeds can be used as crop seeds for coming season. So by the time they need to store these crops carefully, otherwise some pest, as we discussed how they are affecting the crop plant, same way some insects, some pests, some rodents may eat all these stored grains. And apart from that, the newly collected grains, after winnowing, the grains which they are collecting, that contains more amount of moisture. Wherever the moisture content is there, easily microorganisms get attracted, like our fungi, bacteria, and so many microorganisms can get attracted towards these moisture places and they start growing. Once when they start grow, they'll spoil this grains. Then what to do? What exactly farmers are doing? So as soon as when they collect their grains, first they make those grains drying process they'll go. They'll sun dry the grains and then they will dry under the shade. After drying, first they'll do the drying process. After drying them under sun, under shade, and then they will store these grains in gunny bags. You have seen gunny bags? Your rice bags, you ask your mummies and see the gunny bags in your home, how they are storing different seeds. You observe them near your surroundings, in your home, how your mother is taking care of the grains, the pulses what we are using. Okay, and sometimes they can even store the grains in metal cans. In metal cans they can store, and by using some neem leaves, they'll mix some neem leaves in the you can see this process in your homes when your parents are storing rice or some pulses for throughout the year. They'll purchase in the beginning of the year and they'll store for whole year. While storing like that, they'll mix some neem leaves in them. Neem leaves also can prevent the pests and insects. And they can mix some chemicals like, boric powder. By mixing some boric powder or by mixing some neem leaves, they can stop the growth of microorganisms. So this way farmers can store their grains. Suppose if the farmers wanted to store their grains in large quantities, then they'll go for silos or granaries. Silos and granaries they are using for storing in large quantities of grains. We are not taking food only from plants, we are also taking food from animals, right? So the study of rearing of animals and management and getting products from the animals is only known as animal husbandry. Animal husbandry. So, by this animal husbandry also, some people are earning money. Some animals, they'll rear only for getting milk. So, those animals are known as milk animals. And some animals, as you all know, the examples you know very well. So, they rear only for getting the meat. So, those are meat-giving animals. Meat-giving animals. And some animals reared for getting eggs. They give us eggs like hens and ducks, give us eggs like sheep, gives us meat. So, the animals which are rearing to get the eggs are known as egg-laying animals. Egg-laying animals. So, if this is done on a large scale, is only known as animal husbandry. So, here the people should learn how to take care of the animals, how to keep their shelter, how to give vaccines for them, how to treat the diseases of animals, and how to provide the balanced diet. When they follow all this, then the animals will be healthy and give healthy products for the people. So what all they need to take care? They should provide balanced diet to the animals, and they should keep their shelter clean. They must keep the shelter clean. Proper ventilation should be where they are domesticating these animals. And when they get any disease, treatment for diseases, immediately they must consult a veterinary doctor who treat the animals, and they should give treatment for diseases. When they follow all this, proper food and clean drinking water, proper food they need to supply like in the form of balanced diet, and clean drinking water they need. They need clean drinking water. When farmers supply all this to the animals, then the benefits will be more for the farmers by animal husbandry. So along with the crops, they can also go for animal husbandry. And a number of, apart from these animals, many animals are even used in their crop production and management. You had seen for preparation of soil, and bullocks, cows, many animals they are using. So man started domesticating animals from ancient time. So they are a part of human life. Understood, children? So up to here, your crop production and management lesson is completed. Now I'll give you some home assignment. Do one small home assignment, children. You ask your mother and collect the information about how she is storing the different grains in your house. What methods she is following to store the grains and pulses. The methods, what methods your mother is following to store grains and pulses. Grains and pulses in your home. What methods she is following and what grains or what pulses she is storing for many days. Write it in a tabular column in your notebook and do this work, children. It will be very interesting. So carry on with this homework. Thank you, children.